I think the crypto market is about to do something crazy, ladies and gentlemen, and I hope you're ready. I hope you're ready for what's about to happen next because, well, the last couple of days we've been building up. We've been stacking up for something wild, and it's mostly with regard to price. And what I mean is, right now we're basically being a bit quiet, but soon enough, I think a massive move will happen for Bitcoin, which will ultimately move over into altcoins. And let me elaborate by saying right now, again, is a very quiet period. But usually that's the calm before the storm. And I don't think this time around it will be negative. I mean, Trump has definitely tried to push us in the downwards direction with some of the announcements that have been going out. For example, Trump have just been informed that EU has called to quickly establish meeting dates. Take a look at these announcements right here. These. Trump says, I was extremely satisfied with the 50% tariff allotment on the European Union, especially since they were slow walking, to put it mildly. Our negotiations with them. Now, long story short, it just basically says the EU wants to quickly sit down to get a deal going. But at the side, he also now just said that Putin is playing with fire. He basically said that if it wasn't for him, lots of really bad things would have already happened to Russia. Really, really bad. And apparently Mr. P does not realize that. All I can say about the matter is, this man knows how to move the freaking stock market and knows how to play with our emotions, but honestly, if you've been holding crypto for a while, I don't think you've got any emotions left. I'm just being real open and honest with you here. All right, if you do, what game have you been playing? What game have you been playing? Anyway, so the reason I wanted to establish the base, again, like I was trying to say earlier, that the crypto market most likely is about to go for a pretty massive move, basically stems from the idea that as it currently stands, we're getting closer and closer to my end date of somewhere between August of 2025 and January of 2026. I have said many times before, and I'll say again, that I believe Bitcoin will reach an all-time high in this period somewhere, and then a few weeks after, most likely, the altcoins will peak as well. My earlier advices, not financial advice, my thoughts to my peers, I guess my friends, whatever, was always sell 1% every single day of 2025 of your remaining balance. I broke that rule because I then stated, you know what, with the way in which things are going right now, I believe the peak will most likely be later in the year because of the way 2024 worked out. And so as it currently stands, I still stand by the idea that perhaps from maybe August or so, it might still actually be wise to start cashing out on some things. But with the way things are currently looking, Ethereum not setting a new all-time high, XRP and many of those coins not even breaking their previous all-time highs, in my own opinion, there's just no chance that this is where we peak at. I mean, if you've only been stacking Bitcoin, then yes, most likely this is one of your best periods ever, but the probability of that is pretty small, all right? I've not met a lot of people that only hold Bitcoin. Let me say it differently. I met a lot of people, but not, here on the daily videos. Some of y'all might also be wondering how the bots are coming along. Well, let me tell you, they're just still stacking up as it currently stands, all right? So the last one I opened up was the Bull Run Solana bot, right? It's been about 2 weeks or so since I opened my last bot, and I've actually not been doing too much with these, just waiting and seeing them stack up the 𝗲𝗁𝗀𝗀s, right? Stack up the monies every single day. So the idea with my bots, if you're wondering, is that it basically will just buy and sell. It sounds stupid, but it's because it's that easy. It'll buy and sell by buying as the price goes down lower and then quickly selling it as the price comes back up, besides having itself a main position. So if we go, for example, look at placed, we can see we already have or you can't see it here. You can, I think, wait, somewhere. Anyway, it might be here. You can see actually how much we currently have in a long, but as the price moves down lower and lower and lower, it'll actually try to accumulate more and more and more of a position. And then as the price moves up, again, it basically determines itself how much it actually has to sell and how much it has to buy. And if the price moves up, like I said, it will try to sell little bits and pieces again to basically catch these grid profits, which are, cashed in, locked in profits. While at the same time, this unrealized P&L will just move up and down as the price of XRP or Bitcoin or whatever moves. But again, over a longer amount of time, this works itself out so beautifully, regardless of whether or not the price stays the same or goes up. And a good example is Matter of fact, Solana right here. We bought into this bot at 179. The price is now 177. We should be down on our investment, right? On our long. But because it was a bot, we're actually up a few percent, even though the freaking Solana price is down. That's why it's so beautiful, ladies and gentlemen. I also have myself still going on our $10,000 to $1 million challenge. Still waiting, by the way, but it will take a few months, a few years. I still think we're going to be able to do it though, but again, you might have to stick around the channel for the next 2 years or so to see me turn this into some crazy amount. I didn't expect it to be overnight though, so. Regardless, just quickly scrolling through, most of them are still healthy, most of them are still doing solid. I'm not covering most of them. The only one that I regret ever is Ethereum. I wish I just did the full size instead of the small testing size. Again, we basically want to do the same for XRP, Bitcoin, ETH, but we decided to do only a little bit because the price was up so much, but look at how the price is going now. For most of these, for example, I don't really regret it. You know, I wouldn't really have done things differently even if I could do time over again. But yeah, they're all still looking pretty freaking healthy, still looking pretty freaking beautiful. And remember guys, if you want to copy them along, there's always a link in the description down below, or actually multiple links to just sign up, get yourself some nice bonuses for signing up. Also, just check them all out down there, and all the bots, you can copy them down below. Now, as it currently stands for XRP, if we're talking about the price, we had ourselves that rejection a while back, right? About, I'm going to say a week or two ago, we had ourselves a rejection at 263. Somewhere along that line, which was basically the previous top that we saw back in March and a few different times in the past. XRP faced this resistance many times, and this time it was not able to break it. Now, as it currently stands though, as we're building on this let's call it 226, 225, 226, right? Basically, another level of interest from a historical perspective. It resisted there multiple times. It actually fell as a support on there multiple times. As it currently stands, we're basically building on that plus the moving averages. If we're able to turn this around for XRP here over the short term, and we actually do not cross below about $2.10 or so as a base. Again, one candle is not that much a problem. It's actually for a close below this line. If we're managing to potentially just break out from here and start going back up, the trend of basically the uptrend here is still intact. And at that point, we are targeting again this $2.62, this movement or this level right there is what we're targeting. For Bitcoin though, I don't really have to tell you too much, except for the fact that even though things are looking calm, you know, from the weekly perspective, we're still just going absolutely insane, which is why I'm saying things are looking slow. But that's because we've gotten a bit spoiled, I'm gonna call it. Bitcoin's at 109,000. This level, people would have done some crazy things for a few weeks ago, and right now are like, what is this? $109,000? That's nothing. It's ridiculous. It's huge, and I really still think that the fact of the matter is, Bitcoin is able to hold these all-time highs for a pretty long time. It is again going to close a new weekly high potentially. At least it did last week. Right now, of course, it's only Tuesday, and things don't really seem to be stopping anytime soon. Matter of fact, Ethereum also just had another pretty massive push back to almost $2,700. I still think, and this is not financial advice, the current thing I'm doing is just bidding, right? Just buying freaking good altcoins, buying myself more into the big ones, and just waiting it out. Be a bit patient, but it'll all work itself out. And this is a moment where you do not panic, do not do something irrational or crazy. There's also more stories of the crazy $1 billion long turned into $1 billion short, the James Wynn situation. I wanted to cover it, but I realized there's not much to cover except for saying, you know, have some conviction in something, believe and understand, not financial advice once more, that all of these major coins will probably go up significantly over the next few months. You might be a bit early, you might be a bit late. Ultimately, though, if you're buying in, you're holding it strong, I personally think you'll make a ton of money. It's just about having the patience. And you might say, Dusty, you've said that for years, but I'll remind you that if you were buying XRP, for example, very consistently throughout the last couple of years, you right now would have tripled, quadrupled, 5 times, 10 times, 20 times your money, depending on your leverage, depending on how you were stacking it up. If you did the bots, for example, as well, you would have probably had 10 times your money in a year or something along those lines. So, or maybe if you did it for 2 years, you would have had 10 times your money in 2 years, or maybe in 3 years, which is still crazy numbers. For most people that are investing, right, they hope to turn a 4x. So meaning their money times 3 or 4 over a 5-year period, so something like that. A lot of people want to turn $100 into 10 million, which is, by the way, why I'm doing that $10,000 challenge, just to show you that it is possible. Not easy, but possible, especially if you take it really, really slow with a Bitcoin bot instead of the way I'm doing it now with XRP. But to get back to it, in general, nobody's ever lost by buying XRP or Bitcoin or most of those top coins really who consistently bought. It's only if you buy once and then forget. For example, Ethereum spent a lot of time above 3,000. Yes, you could have lost some money on that. But Bitcoin is at an all-time high. XRP is trading at one of the highest prices in many, many years. If you really are at a loss, you've been playing the game so wrong, I'll say it doesn't matter. Right? You can still change your fate. You can still change your journey by just, again, locking in, being consistent, realizing that you've got a 6, maybe 9, maybe 12-month window or so of craziest opportunity. And it's a waste to not use it to its full potential, because soon, probably in the next 9 months, you'll wish you had spent a little bit more time, a little bit more attention, perhaps a little more risk, because everything is risky. Not investing is risky. And I tell you right now that for most people, it's worse to feel the regret of not trying a bit more, not putting a bit more, not than just keeping everything safe. I always say, if I had $1,000 right now, I'd go a bit crazy on the risk. Why? Because the 1,000 I'll make again, but the opportunity to be at this part of a bull market I might never get again, or it might take 4 more years to get to that spot. And that's how I think about the situation. Yeah, just wanted to say that Bitcoin right now is going so well. Most coins are still in a good position. And even though the market is not reflecting it maybe today, just give it some time. We know what's building up here. We know what's cooking. In the background, things are so beautiful. Do not get blindsided. Do not get short-sighted and think, oh, but it's not pumping today, so this must be another fake or so. All right, just ignore all the noise. We know what we're holding. It's going to be crazy. Just give it some time. But yeah, right now, we just came back from Monaco, which was a crazy experience. If you've been following me on Instagram, you might have seen some of these stories come by. Let me know down below where you guys are watching this from. I always ask it in my streams and never doing a video, but today I thought it was a cool thing because, well, some of you guys might know where I'm at, but yeah, that's